Hi, Francis.
Hello, Palebo.
We are in a backyard. We got grass under our feet. You might hear some birds or an airplane passing over our head, but...
or that insect.
That's a bug, yeah.
A cicada or something.
It's a beautiful sunny day in Toronto, and we just happen to be here.
At the same time.
The same time.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Last time we were in Thailand.
Exactly. And I actually think we don't want to bore people a lot with introductions about who we are. So,
because we're so fucking famous.
I wish. Still, there might be some people that just want to do that. So how about I set my timer to 3 minutes, and I grill you for 3 minutes so people get to know who you are.
All right. 3 minutes is a long time.
Is that too much?
Yeah, let's just do 1 minute.
1 minute?
This is the generation of
1
minute reels or whatever.
No, it's for the young kids.
Exactly.
The kids. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, start. Francis Tapon, you're an American citizen, but you're way more than that. You got plenty of passports.
2 other ones, Chile and France.
And you are mostly famous also from your TEDx talk that you went to every country in Africa, all 54 countries, and did that without leaving the continent, trying to do a handstand on the highest peak of every country.
And there's 3 TEDx talks.
3 TEDx talks. I am such a loser. And you're writing a book about, how's the book coming along?
Halfway done. Just finished the Zimbabwe chapter, working on Zambia next. It's a beast.
You're doing it alphabetically?
No, yeah. I wish. That'd be great. Yeah, but no, I'm doing well. But it's taking forever, but I'll get it done.
Yeah, and now we're here in Toronto. Why are you here?
I am here house sitting, and I'll be here for until the middle of August, and then off to Estonia.
And then you also do... Okay. Now you start.
Welcome, folks. I'm talking to Bond, the Radio Vagabond. Palebo, tell us what you've been up to since Thailand, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Actually, I know you're tall, and that, but there's much more to you than that. You have a tremendous amount of experience in radio, so you got 40 seconds to tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm from Denmark. I have only one passport, the Danish passport, but I'm not a resident. I don't live in Denmark. I don't live anywhere for 8 years now. I've been a full-time nomad, completely without a home base, and I travel around the world. I say that I'm on a quest to visit every country in the world. I'm on 124 right now. If it happens, it happens. But I'm just enjoying myself and traveling around the world. And I do a travel podcast as I'm doing it called the Radio Vagabond.
Wonderful, awesome. You did your minute. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Oh my God! It seemed like such a good idea when I had it.
Exactly. So much for minimal editing.
Yeah, and obviously, you also. I meant to ask you that you also do a podcast called Wanderlearn.
That's right.
And for people listening to this, you will be able to hear this both on my podcast, The Radio Vagabond, and on your podcast, Wanderlearn. So when I say the thing about you doing a Wanderlearn, people that listen over on Wanderlearn, they probably know that. What I mean by this is that this conversation is both going to be available on Francis Tapon's podcast, Wanderlearn, and here on The Radio Vagabond. My name is Palebo. Welcome to an interesting conversation, almost live here from Toronto in Canada.
This is The Radio Vagabond.
Francis Tapon is an American author, world traveler, and podcaster known for his work with Wanderlearn. With a degree from Harvard Business School, he initially worked in the corporate sector before dedicating himself to full-time travel. He's visited all 54 African countries without leaving the continent, an experience he talks about in the book he's working on, The Unseen Africa. Here he attempted to climb the highest peak in each country and almost succeeded, and also picked up 3,000 hitchhikers. He talked about that in a previous episode on the Radio Vagabond and on one of his 3 TEDx talks. He also completed the Triple Crown of hiking, which includes the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, and Continental Divide Trail. His Wanderlearn podcast features travel tips, adventures, and interviews with travelers and experts, covering culture, history, and practical advice. Also, Francis published the book The Hidden Europe, What Eastern Europeans Can Teach Us, where he shares insights into Eastern Europe. He promotes slow, immersive travel to understand and appreciate the different cultures deeply, encouraging others to explore the world with curiosity and an open mind. And I'm proud to call him a friend. When we met a few days ago here in Toronto, we decided to slap on a few microphones and interview each other about what we do, who we are, how we travel, and why we travel as much as we do.
So we want to ask, everybody wants to know why your name is Palle and what does it mean in other languages? And why did your mom torture you with that name?
Yeah, it's a name. I wouldn't say it's a common name, especially not anymore. Nobody names their kids Palle anymore in Denmark. No, it was more common back when they gave it to me back in the 60s, and nothing special. It doesn't mean anything in Danish. And then when I started traveling, first of all, nobody can say my name. When I say that my name is Palle, people always lean in and say, "Oh, sorry, what?"
Of course.
More if I say my name is Pallabo, it's like, okay, that rolls off the tongue. And I rarely get the question, "Oh, what we say?" "Oh, Pallabo, I can say that." It's weird. And then at some point I was at a nomad cruise where we had name tags and it just said Palle on mine. And there were an Italian guy at the bar. He saw that and he started laughing. And I said, "Why are you laughing?" Stay there. And then he went and got his Italian friend and pointed at and then they were both on the floor laughing. And I said, "Why are you laughing?" And then he did like this with his hands up into bows and said, "Because it means a bull's a balls."
Bull's balls. God.
And I thought, oh, that's not great, but at least it's got some cojones.
That's true. That's true.
So for a year, it means bull's balls. And then I met another Italian and said, "No, it just means balls."
Okay.
And in fact, we have a saying in Italian, "Che palle," which means, "Oh, that's so boring." Basically, that sucks balls. And yeah, "Che palle." And every time I'm in Italy.
What about other languages?
Yeah, well, then I got to Albania, and the guy that I knew there, he refused. He just called me Bo. He said, "I'm not going to call you that other name. You mean Palle?" I said, "Shh. It's a very, very rude way of saying dickhead."
Oh, wow.
Especially in Tirana.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of a slang for...
Wow.
And it's so rude.
Wow.
And I was actually interviewed by Albanian TV, and I saw the Facebook post. It was all in Albania, and then my name was there. So I put that in Google Translate. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it said, "Mr. Dick Bo has been traveling the world for..." Yeah.
But the funny thing is that, at least in Albanian, they don't know that, right? But in English, we know that dick, what it means. Yeah. And we still have, anybody who's called Richard is often called Dick.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Dick
I never
Cheney.
really got that.
Yeah, Dick Cheney. Like, what?
Dick Nixon. Yeah,
Dick Nixon.
I don't really get it. Yeah, and I've also been told that it's close to clown in Finnish, and the Germans say "Pillepalle," which means nothing of importance. So I'm basically the boy named Sue.
Okay.
To give you a Johnny Cash reference, that's so old.
So we met in Thailand for a conference.
Yeah, we met the first time in Spain for a conference, and then we met in Albania. No, in Armenia. Right. In Yerevan.
And then again in Thailand.
Yeah.
Or T-Bex. What have you been up to since then on your quest? You and I, that's one thing that's interesting. We don't just have two podcasts together. We have almost the identical country count. I've got about 125. You're 124. Oh. Yeah. We're neck on neck.
Yeah. And you only count UN nations on that?
Yeah, I guess.
Taiwan,
Kosovo.
Taiwan, is that counted?
I haven't gone to Taiwan, but I have gone to Kosovo, and I think I count that as my...
Then we're exactly the same.
Then we're exactly the same.
Because if I count Kosovo, I'm on 125.
Okay, got it. All right, we're exactly...
And you didn't count Greenland, because you were just in Greenland.
Yeah,
no,
correct.
No, yeah. Well, after that, and I'm also very curious about to hear what you've been up to. After that, I stayed in Thailand for a month. That year had been a crazy year for me because I stayed in 105 different beds that year in different places. So packed and unpacked 105 times. And then that was including a full month after that. I went to Koh Lanta in Thailand.
I don't know what's more impressive, that you did 125 different beds in a year or that you actually kept track of it.
I have a spreadsheet. I'm a bit of a geek.
You are such a fucking nerd.
Geek. Yeah.
Jesus.
And then I went to Australia, my first time in Australia, and spent 3 months there. Did a lot of the West Coast. Also did a 2-day scuba diving trip in the Great Barrier Reef.
Wow.
Yeah. I was on a boat for 3 days, so
nice.
eight dives. And
does it live up to the hype?
Yeah.
Is it the best place ever?
Yeah. I would
really?
say so. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and
no bleaching going on.
No, and when people say that it's highly exaggerated that it's dead, I'm sure there are some parts, but
I told you global warming is a Chinese hoax.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some, and I'm sure it's struggling, but it's still a lot. It's massive, but so we
hence the name Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah. And actually, the same year later, I dove in the second biggest barrier reef out of Belize. So I did that in the same year. Now, after Australia, I went on a cruise to New Zealand, and
first time there.
First time there as well, and I did a 2-week road trip of the South Island, which was unbelievable. Yeah, really, really great. Then I flew back to Europe for another TBEX conference in Greece. Roamed a bit around, took a nomad cruise over to Brazil, and then down to Buenos Aires on New Year's Eve. And I started this year with 3 months in Buenos Aires before, believe it or not, getting back to Europe for another TBEX. But I did a cruise back from Buenos Aires to Italy, and then I went to Istanbul, Lebanon, Syria.
Have you been to all the European countries?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did Iceland. That's my last a couple of years ago, including Kosovo. Syria trip was amazing, and then I did a trip of the stands: Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, and then I went here. I was supposed to go to another TBEX in Puerto Rico with a stopover in New York, but because of my Syria trip, I wasn't allowed to go there. They don't like the Syria stamp in my passport.
This is the hypocrisy of the U.S. government. A U.S. citizen can go to Syria, but they don't want a non-U.S. citizen going to Syria. Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So I went straight here to Toronto. That was my plan, to go here after Puerto Rico. But now I'm here, and I don't know where I'm going next, and I don't know when.
I have this feeling all the time.
Yeah.
This is the normal course of my entire life. Yeah. Because you have a little bit of structure, because you're so heavily involved with TBEX.
Yeah, I do the TBEX podcast, so that's why I go to them all the time.
Right.
And that's why I was supposed to be in Puerto Rico.
Right, so it creates a structure, is what I'm saying, to your life to a certain extent.
That puts me in a continent, and then I stay roaming around there for a bit.
Yeah. But and so where are most of your countries? I imagine they're African countries that are mostly missing for your 70-something countries to go?
I've done half of the African countries. I've done
quite
a bit.
But that's still about at least 25 countries.
Yeah.
So about half of your countries that you're missing.
Yeah, I think I've done 26 African countries.
A third of your countries are in Africa.
Oh, yes. And 25% of the countries in the world are in Africa. So.
But I'm saying a third of the country, for your remaining 70. Yeah. I know you're not that obsessed with the 193.
No, if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, if I'm 95 and still need 10 more to go, it's still my plan, young man. So yeah, if it's more about the journey, not the goal, but it's always fun to say that it's what I'm aiming for. You don't say that out loud.
I do say that I'm aiming, but I'm not in any rush.
No,
I take my time.
Same for me. Same for me.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
But I do definitely want to do it by,
Yeah.
Anyway, but I'm definitely not in a rush. I mean, for God's sakes, I spent 8 years in Africa, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I could have seen the whole planet by now.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So, a lot of those that I'm missing are the harder micronations in the Pacific.
Yeah. How many are there? About a dozen there?
Yeah. Also quite expensive.
What about Caribbean? They have quite a few.
I've done quite a few, but still need a lot there.
Okay, yeah. So it's just basically scattered all over the place.
Yeah. And in South America, I need the Guianas, the two small UN nations, and French Guiana, and Venezuela, and Ecuador for some reason. So Ecuador is high on my list now.
Right.
When we come back, we're going to hear more about where Francis has been since we last met in Thailand. And even though he's already visited every country in Africa, he did a lot of traveling there. Hear why when we come back.
Travel is possible at any age. Your sense of adventure is just over the horizon. So, reach out and grab it. This is the Radio Vagabond. Gotta keep moving.
This conversation is recorded with a wireless microphone set called Nomono. It's from a Norwegian startup that's changing the game for recordings on the go. This thing is awesome. Once I record it, I connect it to their app and it automatically uploads to the cloud. With a few clicks, I can use the AI to enhance the sound quality, making it sound really top-notch, even in a noisy environment. It's incredibly easy to use, perfect for anyone wanting to capture professional audio without the hassle. If you're curious and want to learn more, check out their website at nomono.co. Give it a look, you won't be disappointed. Also, this episode is supported in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that's great for your next trip. When you search for a hotel, apartment, or hostel, you don't just search one site. You search all the big sites, and some you've never even heard of, all at the same time. And then it finds where the exact same room is cheapest. That not only saves you money, but also time, because you don't have to search many places to make sure that you got the best rate. And hey, now you can also find the best rates on flights, all in the same place, hotels25.com. And now, back to this week's episode.
So after Thailand, how about you?
After Thailand, it was much simpler than your itinerary. I mainly spent it in Africa. So I went to, where did I go? Definitely went to Southern Africa.
Yeah.
Several countries in
you were
Southern
more
Africa.
or less based in Morocco, weren't you?
I was in Morocco for a long time.
Yeah.
Then I was in Southern Africa for a while. And then I went to East Africa, like Ethiopia and South Sudan, which was very interesting because the only time I went to South Sudan was I climbed the tallest mountain, but secretly and illegally through Uganda. So I went there and I climbed the tallest mountain, but I didn't actually see the country. So this time around it was nice. But I still didn't see as much of South Sudan as I would have liked. I just was near Juba, which is the capital. And have you been to South Sudan?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can go, but it's just, I would like to see more of it.
Yeah.
Not just Juba and nearby Juba. Everybody go see the Mondori tribe or whatever they're called. Anyway, but it's fascinating.
Well,
Ethiopia was fascinating the second time around too.
Yeah, how come you chose to go back to some of the places? Obviously, see more, but it's a great big
Sometimes
world out there.
I guide people, and also I just really need to see second sides of it. I mean, I'm sure you've been to countries so many times, right?
Yes.
Especially like European countries.
My third time here in Toronto.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you do see sometimes different sides.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to revisit countries every once in a while. And I'm writing my book. I keep having this fantasy of writing my book in Africa, but I haven't really been that great at fulfilling this fantasy. But I still haven't. Maybe I'll do that in the future. Maybe I'll finish it finally in Africa. Who knows? But that's it. And then I came to Canada in Toronto since April. And then... yeah.
You said that the thing about going back to countries that you've been to before and you loved. I also have some countries that are nothing special for me and say, yeah, no.
You don't want to go back?
No. And then I meet someone saying, what do you mean? It's great there.
Right.
For a long time, when people we always get the question, what's your favorite country and what's your least favorite country? And for my favorite, I would always say South Africa, and especially Cape Town.
Oh, wow.
And for my least favorite, for a long time I said, Mauritania.
And that's one of my favorite.
That's one
of my favorite.
And I think it was you that said that, and also Rick Kazarian, the founder of Extraordinary Travel Fest. He also said, it's so great there. So now I want to go back to the countries that I didn't really like to see what did I miss.
That's great. That's fabulous.
And do you have, because as far as I remember, you didn't have the greatest experience in Ghana. Before I went to Ghana, I think you let me read the draft of your chapter about Ghana. And it was not
you're right. I had
positive.
5 misfortunes in Ghana. You're right. You have a very good memory. You know what I did in Ghana better than I do. Yes, you're right. I did have 5 misfortunes that all hit me in Ghana, but somehow I was able to compartmentalize that and separate my shitty experience with the country. I don't want to blame the Ghanaians for my misfortune. It was just a bunch of bad luck that happened.
I totally fell in love with Ghana when I went there. And so I want to go back because I love it, but I want to go back to Mauritania because I didn't like it.
I plan to go back to Ghana myself. This guy named Skylar and I want to drive from Côte d'Ivoire all the way down to South Africa. And so we'll going through Ghana again. But unfortunately, he drives very fast, so we don't spend much time. But that's another story. That's actually, I don't know if I did that after Thailand or not. I think I did. I did drive from Morocco all the way to Liberia, or Côte d'Ivoire, actually, all the way to Côte d'Ivoire.
Wow.
That was a fun little trip. West Africa is always a challenge. But yeah, Guinea-Bissau is a place that I've never... Did you go to there?
Yeah.
So to me, I just never fell in love with Guinea-Bissau. Did you? Maybe you went to the islands.
I had a great experience. I was also super lucky. I booked a random Airbnb, and it turned out that the people owning that place were Danish doctors with a big research group working on vaccines and stuff like that. And I got to be a part of that community, so I got to hang out with a lot of local people, and not just Westerners, Western doctors, but some of those, but also some of the locals there. So I got a more immersive experience than I would have gotten otherwise.
Okay. So you met a lot of locals?
Yeah.
But you don't speak Portuguese?
No.
But somehow you felt connected?
Yeah, and also I got to hang out with those Danish people, and they...
But then, I mean, I understand that, but I feel like when you're hanging out with expats, it's an important experience because the expats have a foot in both worlds, so they're always fascinating. But at the same time, you're not really with the locals.
But like I said, they took me to events where there were some locals as well. Right. Yeah.
The challenge, though, I find, like, if I don't have the linguistic connection, then I feel like I'm missing 80% of the experience if I can't somehow communicate with them.
If I could choose one superpower, it would be to be able to speak every language.
We're getting there. I think in a couple of years. I mean, already Google Translate. There's a lot of apps that allow you to do that. Have you used those apps? On the fly?
But what I hear is that now what's coming is, or it's already there, is like you can have a special app and then earbuds in each person, and then it would be translated instantly. On the fly,
Yeah, that's, if it's not here, it will be. Like by 2026. It should be there for sure. It's fascinating.
But then you came here to Toronto to house sit and do other stuff, and
and I'm writing my book, trying to finish that fucking thing. It's a beast. I don't think I'm going to write a book after this. I don't recommend writing a book. You think podcasting is hard? No, writing a book is worse. It just takes forever, and it's so not lucrative at all. And nobody reads books anymore, so it's a thankless endeavor.
But before we move on to the next topic, you also went to Greenland. I want to hear about that because
so I've been there. You've been there.
I've been there twice.
You guys own the place.
Oh, I with the Greenlandic would argue about that, but it's part of the Danish kingdom, sure.
Do you think they'll ever get independence? Like true independence, like become a United Nations, like 194?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
And
because they
too
benefit.
Expensive,
They benefit too much from.
For the same reason, Scotland doesn't. They can't do without the money, and if they all of a sudden they really find a lot of oil or diamonds or and they would be able to. It's a massive place, and they.
Greenland.
Yeah. So.
Well, or what if the Danes stop juicing them? In other words, giving that all those subsidies. Like if Danish decides, you know what? Why are we sending all this money over to that stupid island?
Yeah. Anybody want to buy that island?
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I mean, it's a great investment. It's kind of like Alaska back in.
It's just a big real estate deal.
It is, and Alaska. That's how we got Alaska.
I am joking, of course.
I'm not. I'm like Alaska. We bought it, and nobody. It was called Stewart's Folly because they thought it was like the stupidest decision because it's just a block of ice, and then all of a sudden it turned out to be a really brilliant move. And right now Greenland's a block of ice.
Did you know the thing about Alaska, that it could have been Liechtenstein?
No, what's that story?
The Russian Tsar, when he was good friends with the Prince of Liechtenstein, who had the money, and at some point over cognac probably and cigars, the Russian Tsar said, "Oh, we're spending a lot of money on that war we're in right now. You want to buy Alaska, this piece of land close to Russia. And the guy said, no, not really. And then they sold it to the U.S. So it could have been Liechtenstein. The world would have looked a whole lot different if it had
from
been
the smallest country in the world to one of the biggest.
Yeah. When I went to Greenland, it was only in Nuuk, and then I was in Sisimiut as well. Nuuk is the capital and the biggest city with 15 to 20,000 people, which is not a big city, but it's got that capital feel, and it's there. I can totally get by speaking Danish as well. They speak a lot of Danish in Nuuk, whereas when we get further north to Sisimiut, where I know that you've been also the second biggest city with, as far as I remember, around 4,000 people and 5,000 sleigh dogs, which is quite interesting. That's more Greenlandic and completely away from anything I can understand.
Yeah, and I don't speak any Danish, so
Greenlandic and whatever. Danish is...
And I was amazed by the long words that they have.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Head scratchers.
At some point when I was a graphic designer, we did a brochure in Danish and Greenlandic. And we had to put extra pages in the Greenlandic one because the words are so long.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
And the words are hard to pronounce, not just long. It's like Umanak. Umanak. So I went to Umanak, and that was amazing. I was on a boat that is really nice luxury.
Yeah. So where did you go?
It was Quark Expeditions is the company.
Okay.
That they really run a fabulous operation, and then every day they have little outings, either on the Zodiacs, which are these little pontoon boats.
So it's a cruise.
Yeah, it's a cruise. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so then we're hitting different ports of along the way, and you don't see a tremendous amount of wildlife, but we didn't see any polar bears, for example, but it has a lot of birds. We did see a sperm whale, which one guide said he hadn't seen for 15 years. Mm-hmm. The weather was spectacular. Like for 10 days, didn't see a drop of rain.
Blue sky.
Yeah, it was. And then as soon as we left, it was like 5 days of rain.
Yeah.
And it's a place just like in your trip. It's like it's the world's biggest island. It's just a tease. It's like going to Russia. It's just like you go there and you're like, okay, no matter how much time you spend in Russia, it's like you're just seeing nothing.
Yeah.
Even if you take the Trans-Siberian, it doesn't matter. You haven't seen anything, really.
No.
You go to Alaska. You like these territories are so vast.
Yeah.
And Greenland is so inaccessible and so hard to see, and just most of it is buried under ice. I want to walk across Greenland. That's what I would like to do. But I didn't have the time to do it this time around. And not to mention the equipment and probably not even the strength and the logistics. But it's something I would love to do. It probably takes a couple of weeks, maybe a month. I don't know.
That's obviously something you would do. That's not for me. That's not for me.
I would love to do that. That would be great.
I did do a snow scooter into the mountains when I was in Sisimiut. It was too late in the season. This was in late March. I was there, so it was too late in the season for the sleigh dogs. I wanted to do that, but we did go on a snow scooter into the mountains, and that was spectacular and so beautiful and amazing.
No, but I was definitely intrigued. We talked a little bit about Mauritania earlier. Mm-hmm. Mauritania, what intrigues me is I love desert cultures because I like the desert and I like inhospitable landscapes. And that's what I realized when I was in Greenland. I'm attracted to the Arctic is that it's an inhospitable landscape as well.
No.
Very loosely populated, that's why I love Namibia. You mentioned that your favorite country is South Africa or Cape Town. For me, it's in Africa. Everybody asks me, which is your favorite African country? I say Namibia.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that. And once I finally get to Namibia, I haven't been there.
Loser.
But I want to spend a significant amount of time in Namibia because people say so many great things about it. And it's so big as well. And,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to go there just for a few days, and I said, no, I don't want it to be one of those countries that I just rush in and out of because I want to spend a significant amount of time there.
Wise words. And this brings up travel styles.
Yeah.
So let's talk about travel styles.
Right.
What is your travel style? I think most, by the way, people like us who are kind of nomadic, we tend to go relatively slowly.
Yeah, when
we're not like there's the travel styles. I mean, one travel style is the guy who's got 2 weeks vacation, and so they hit like 10 countries in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and when we speak to those extreme travelers, when we were at Extraordinary Travel Festival in Yerevan, and we see these people, and a lot of people, they have the misconception that country counters, quote unquote, are people that rush in and out of a country, just leave the airport, say, okay, I've been here, and then leave. And that is very rare, is in that community, is my feeling.
That's true.
When it comes to nomads, I think I move more than most nomads. For example, when I was in Buenos Aires, there were a lot of other digital nomads there, and they stayed in the same place for 3 months. I was there for 3 months. I stayed in 9 different Airbnbs.
But still in Buenos Aires.
Yeah. So the advantage for me is like I get to see something new and I get to adjust to something new, and I know the different neighborhoods of Buenos Aires because I moved so much. So I know what I like.
I do that through house sitting. So I've been in Toronto for about 3 months, and I've had like 5 different house sits at least. So it's kind of the similar idea, and you're absolutely right. Yeah. When you do different house sits, or in this case Airbnbs, either way you see a different neighborhood. And that's a way to discover. And when you're talking about a big city like Toronto, you really, it's huge. And you get a different flavor.
And I've been saying this for 3-4 years now. I can see myself slowing down. And I feel I am slowing a little bit more down. I'm here in Toronto for a couple of months, I think. And I've been here 3 weeks already, and I've stayed in 3 different places and done a road trip as well. So, and now tomorrow I'm moving in and doing a house sit for 3 weeks. So let's see after that.
And then you don't really know, except for your T-Bex conferences.
Yeah, and I was, you see, the thing I went quickly over when I said the thing about they wouldn't let me into the U.S. Because I'd been to Syria, and I was supposed to go to another T-Bex in Alaska, and I really want to go to Alaska. I have never been there. It would be my 49th state. So now I'm trying to see if I can get a regular visa. And I applied for that here in Toronto. And when I was sending in the application, I was told, oh, you can get an interview in 860 days. So a little bit more than 2 years. That's going to be difficult. I'm trying to speak to the U.S. Embassy in Copenhagen, where they only have a waiting time of 35 days for some reason, to see if they will do the interview online, or if I would have to get myself on a plane to just have a meeting. I don't know. But if not, I don't think is going to happen. I have this feeling in my bones that it's not going to happen by September. So then I might just go to Chiang Mai and hang out there for a while. I'm trying to focus more on work. I have so many projects that I'm trying to start right now, so I need to be not traveling as fast. And Chiang Mai is a place that it's easy to stay for a nomad. Nomad community, and I'll be close to Bangkok, where we're both going in November.
Right.
Yeah.
So when are you going to be in Chiang Mai?
I don't know.
But you're going to be there before November?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's I think so. So if I get a definite no to the visa meeting before September, I might see if I can get myself there after the house sit, or maybe I'll do another house sit here if I can get one, and then.
Why'd you pick Mississauga?
I was just looking for something around Toronto.
But why Toronto?
I love it here. I've been here a couple of times.
Why not Quebec?
It's
French.
My English is better than my French. You can get by
with French. What about Vancouver?
Yeah, that could have been an option. I've always said Toronto's one of my favorite cities, and people say, okay, if you like Toronto, you're going to love Vancouver. So
tell me you've never been to Vancouver.
I have, but I was there for a week and a half, and it poured down with the rain all the time, as it does.
Never happens in Vancouver.
As it does. So it didn't give the best impression, but so I want to go back.
What time of year was that?
It wasn't where it wasn't supposed to.
Oh, it was like June or July?
Yeah, I don't
It was
really
warm?
remember.
Was it cold?
Yeah.
Because, it rains mainly in the winter. A lot.
It was not in the winter.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly when it was, but yeah.
Yeah, they do get a lot of rain.
Yeah.
But the Vancouver Island, by the way, gets a lot less. Which is an island, obviously, nearby.
Yeah, this was during the pandemic, and so it was in 21 at some point. Probably June. And I actually had booked a boat from Seattle to go to Vancouver Island. And then after that, they stopped it again because of COVID. And I couldn't, I wanted to go to Canada and Vancouver, but I wanted to do it going to Vancouver Island first. And I couldn't get the train. There were no trains because of the pandemic. There were no buses. So I had to get on a stupid flight and fly from Seattle to Vancouver, which was crazy because it's so close by.
Right.
And when I got to Canada, I thought, finally meeting some friendly Canadians. And I said, I'm here. And I was smiling. And they said, where do you live? I said, well, I'm a nomad. I don't live anywhere. No, come on. Do you live in the U.S.? No, I'm a nomad. No, do you live in Canada? No. Do you live in Denmark? Where's your residency? Like I said, I travel full time. And then he said, you travel during a global pandemic? And he repeated that 3 times. And I said, yeah, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. And he sent me into a back office as well, and there was a woman asking me the exact same questions. They just could not wrap their head around me being a nomad in the pandemic. But
yeah, it was a strange time to be traveling.
Yeah,
but you did it. You pulled it off.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of going to Chiang Mai and hanging out there before. What is your plan after Toronto?
I will be going to Estonia.
Oh, that's
Finland.
the other way.
Yeah, Finland. I like it's nice to stay in the far northern hemisphere during these hot, because temperatures are going up high.
Yeah,
and like to avoid the southern, like near the equator, if you will. But
either that for Finland, or when it's really cold and you can stay in an ice igloo or something.
That's true.
And see the northern lights.
That's true. At some point, I might steal from your playbook. I probably won't go to Chiang Mai, but I might go to Thailand a little bit early. I would like to go back to Libya. I've only saw southern Libya. I never saw the Mediterranean side of Libya.
Uh-huh.
So that might be in January 2025, but I don't know that yet.
No.
Anyway, that's my plan.
You've been listening to a simulcast of Wanderlearn and the Radio Vagabond. Go check out wanderlearn.com and the radiovagabond.com and see more.
As mentioned in the beginning, this episode is also available over on Wanderlearn. We actually continued our chat in the garden and talked a lot about the situation in the world right now. The growing tensions, the US election, the situation in Ukraine, Gaza, and Taiwan, and so much more. Find Wanderlearn in your podcast app and hear that part of the conversation too, plus all the other great stuff that Francis has over there.
Until next time, gotta keep moving.
See ya.
Radio Vagabond. Produced by radioguru.co.uk.